And we're back at Boston University getting set for the women's 5,000 meters. But don't forget, your favorite races, games, etc. are even bigger on the big screen. Select your favorite teams, tracks, series, and more to easily access the content you are looking for every time you open our beautifully redesigned TV apps. Download the Flow Sports TV apps today, available on all major app stores. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the women's 5,000 meters at Boston U.
And Phil Grove, this is a rematch of not one, not two, but the top 4 from the NCAA Cross Country Championships. You've got Doris Lemngole of Alabama, Pamela Kosgei of New Mexico, Hilda Olemomoi of Florida, and also Amy Banaj of Stanford. Just 4 of the gargantuan names that we have on the oval here today.
And the big thing early on is going to be the pace setting for this event. Scheduled to be Carmen Alder and Riley Chamberlain from BYU taking the group through 3K at 8:58. I am certain that one's going to lead and then the other one's going to take over through that 3,000 meters point, but very important to set the proper tempo as all of these in this hot heat came here to run fast to potentially get a qualifying mark, as a year ago all 16 finalists in the men's 5K ran their 5K here at BU.
Not to mention the overall collegiate record as well. That stands at 14:52.79 by none other than Parker Valby. Of course, Hilda Olemomoi, a current Florida Gator, running in her place. None of the, well, we got some of the big names towards the front right now, but again, it's all going to be how they set the pace. This is just the third of 25 laps, so stay patient. A lot of racing to be done.
The facility record is an unbelievable 14:30.79. That's going to be 5 years old here in just a handful of days, as the BYU connected athletes in the lead, currently going side by side. Once again, on pace for 14:56 if everything comes together as they hope, as you see the rest of the field quickly separating into 2 groups. Carson, you see that lead group and then a gap of about 12 to 15 meters, and then a second group in this big field, the opening section of the women's 5,000.
And it's no question why we see that early separation. I mean, look at that opening 800, 2:24. That's not a pace that half of this field can sustain for an entire 25 laps of an indoor oval, let alone 12 and a half laps of an outdoor oval. So we're going to see a lot of discrepancy, especially considering this is the longest race of the day. Not very many people in the world can sustain a sub-15 5K, and that's the goal here today.
And it's pretty interesting right now. One of the faces that I picked out and wouldn't want to be this young lady currently is Chloe Scrimgeour. She is currently in the number, it looks like 8 or 9 position at the tail end of that lead group. She's got about 8 meters of open track and then about 25 behind her to the chase group. So she really is on an island all by herself.
At the same time, Scrimgeour can't panic because she knows that if she does, then she's going to sap every ounce of energy that she could have otherwise in the remainder of this race. If I'm her, I'd want to get in touch with this top group so that I can ride this pace as long as I can. But perhaps it's just a little bit too hot. We'll see. Chloe Scrimgeour, top left of your frame. Doris Lemngole, the NCAA cross-country champion from the University of Alabama. The big player to watch here.
So they're already working the second kilometer of this 5K race.
Kosgei wears hip number 3. She is in the number 3 spot behind the 2 pacers, and Lemngole on the outside to the left in red, with Nike's Emily Venters running on the inside now in 5th.
And one of my favorite races outdoors, Emily Venters at Stanford, running an incredible breakthrough 10K. Had the opportunity to come up and talk to us on the FloTrack live stream. She is in a perfect position right now. We've just lost one of our 2 pace setters. That was Carmen Alder, has stepped aside, leaving it up to Riley Chamberlain.
We saw Carmen's sister Vanessa do some pacing earlier on in the 3rd heat of the women's 3K, but it's now in the hands of one of the women who featured in the fast heat of the women's 3K, Riley Chamberlain, to bring them through to 3K at 8:58. So coming up to 1,600 meters, right at 4:50. Incredibly hot pace being set here. Again, it's just over 3 miles, 3.1 to be exact, the 5,000. Pamela Kosgei, she's an interesting story. She has run some official 5Ks, but her official personal best is 16:20. Her 6K run at Wisco Pre-Nats, which ran in 18:59, equates to a faster 5K personal best. So she is in for something very special just by virtue of being in this race and being in this top group.
So Chamberlain still in the lead, and things have stretched out now. It's single file, nobody running out on his shoulder or out in lane 2. Venters in the number 4 spot with the 2 collegiate finishers right ahead of her. Lemngole, the NCAA cross-country champion from Alabama, in the lead. As the finishers, actually, she's in the number 3 spot. In second, that is Pamela Kosgei from New Mexico.
Hilda Olemomoi from Florida sitting in 5th overall right now, running a little bit more of a patient race than we saw from her at XC Championship. She made a couple surges early and late, but it seems like she's going to let the race in front of her play out this time. We'll see how that factors and features for the Florida Gator. Next lap split will be 2 kilometers. In fact, that was 2 kilometers, correction on that. So looked like they were just below 6, so they're still well below 3K pace.
Yeah, it looks like the lap counter might be in error, I do believe. Riley Chamberlain is going to step off, leaving it up to Emily Venters. Running for the swoosh. And she has collegiate runners behind her. Emily Venters running for Nike.
She carries a personal best of 15:20:37 to her name. Lemngole 15:04:71, which was run at the Valentine Invitational last year. And that was behind a couple of pros in Courtney Freericks and Hannah Natal. So she placed herself right up there even last year before we knew just what she could do, and she exploded with a collegiate record in the steeplechase, and of course this fall winning the 10K championship in Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago. Lemngole now in second.
The 6K championship.
6K, I'm in men's mode
Some
right
of the
now.
women do want to run the 10, and I think that is open for discussion. But right now, a fantastic 10K runner, Emily Venters, in the lead with 5 collegiate runners behind her. And then we had a brief look at the chase pack, and about there they are right now, about 25 to 30 meters behind, now making it almost a full straightaway, and it is a full straight. We'll dial into the leader in that group and tell you who is in the number 7 position, as we have finishers up front, and a little contact there as a heel was clipped. That is Adva Cohen from Under Armour Dark Sky. She is leading that chase group, but there's the overall. There's Cohen right now wearing number 18. As I see Grace Hartman, a standout Ohio prep who really turned into an incredible cross-country runner this fall for North Carolina State. And for Lori Hennis and the Wolfpack, I think finished 7th overall in the cross-country championship. She's moving up on the outside, but there's our lead group. Emily Venters in the lead.
Grace Hartman, as you mentioned, Phil, continued the longest active streak of women in the top 10 at the NCAA cross-country championships, dating back to Ellie Hennis, who placed in the top 10 in 2019. Streak continues for the Wolfpack.
Like mother, like daughter in North Carolina State. So Emily Venters in the lead, coming up there at 9:04.
Less than 6 minutes left. Again, we got to consider that collegiate record. 5 women still in this race. And we talked about it earlier, more of an aside, Phil, but women who perhaps want to run that 10K and exercise that strength. Hilda Olemomoi, among her 10 NCAA championship finishes, she placed 2nd in the 10K along with the 5K back in outdoors. So she's got plenty of strength to go by. She is such a great championship performer because in her 10 NCAA individual appearances, she has never placed lower than 6th. She has never won, though, either. So that's going to be an important item to check off the list in this year. but she places herself where it matters when it matters, in fourth right now.
So Venters the leader through 3,000 meters at 9:04, so just over 15-minute pace.
They let it slip just a little bit, but again, because they're together, they can all work together and kick off of that. And considering that and what we saw 2 weeks ago, it's hard to doubt against the gal in second, Doris Lemngole from Alabama.
And now coming out, they're back on track in the lap counter, 8 laps remaining, a 1,600-meter run. And Emily Venters trying to stretch things out, a group of 5 up front. The pro and the 4 current collegiate runners.
And Amy Bonage of Stanford has got to be thinking exactly what she said carried her to a 4th place finish at the NCAA Cross Country Championships. Relax, remain calm. She opened her cross country season at regionals. She only raced twice in the cross country season. So you could argue that she hasn't even hit her peak fitness yet. She's sitting right on the back of this top 5, still with plenty of odds in her favor to place well.
Emily Venters in the lead. Doris Lemngole in the number 2 spot. Back to the chase group. You just saw Grace Hartman flash by. She is in the number 7 position currently. There's our lead group of 5. Venters, Lemngole, Kosgei, Olemomoi, and Bonage.
Venters showcasing all of her veteranship, keeping every stride purposeful. Lemngole staying patient behind, and Kosgei, she is hugging that rail in 3rd with Olemomoi in 4th and Bonage in 5th. It's anyone's race at this point, but they're pushing the pace, keeping the laps consistent. We're going to have just 1 kilometer to come up soon. This is going to be a tough close here.
And taking a look at the all-time top 10 in the collegiate ranks, Doris Lemngole from Alabama is currently number 2 at 15:04.71. I believe, as Carson mentioned earlier, Parker Valby, the all-time record holder, 14:52. She ran a facility record here, and then a short time later at the D1 championships, broke that one wide open at 14:52. The top 10 performance 15:15, so I think we're going to get a couple additions to that tonight.
Pamela Kosgei has slipped out from the rail and has subsequently put her 3rd place position at stake, but she's taken it back from Hilda Olemomoi and gotten back on the inside of Doris Lemngole, who still sits in 2nd behind Emily Venters. 4 laps to go.
So a half mile remaining. Emily Venters still in the lead, but here comes Doris Lemngole from Alabama, striding out. She was looking so comfortable in the number 2 spot. And how many of the collegiate runners are going to go by Emily Venters? It looks like 1, 2, and make it 3 now. So is Lemngole in front, Kosgei in 2nd, and Olemomoi in the number 3 spot as they hit lap traffic.
13:14 with 600 meters to go. They have really, really picked up the pace. We're going to need to see something quick if we want that collegiate record, but a sub-15 is definitely in the cards.
So it is a 3-woman race currently. I don't think Venters has got the turnover left in her legs to keep up with the collegiate runners. Lemngole, Kosgei, and Olemomoi.
Olemomoi's moved her way up into the 2nd position, trying to shake things up. She doesn't want a repeat of NCAA's. She wants to open her indoor season with a win. 400 to go.
400 to go, and they will be sub-15 if they can keep up this pace. Olemomoi
They can absolutely keep up this pace. That last lap was a 34, so if you string 2 more of those together, that sub-15 is as good as broken.
So it is Lemngole in the lead, Olemomoi in 2nd, Kosgei about 15 meters back in 3rd, and they have kicked it up a notch. Reaching a higher gear as they move through these lap runners. Talented runners in the hot heat of the women's 5,000 meters. Lemngole and Olemomoi, Alabama and Florida. What a battle.
The lap traffic definitely going to play a factor here as they hit the final backstretch. Lemngole kicking away.
It is Lemngole and Olemomoi
Look at the relaxation on Doris's face, but Hilda is still there. We're going to have a home stretch fight.
They have some lap traffic to deal with. How's this going to factor in? Doris Lemngole to the line and under 15. Will she get a record? She does. That is a new collegiate record once again. 14:52.57. What a final 1,000 meters. A new collegiate record. The top two, Lemngole breaks it. Olemomoi missed it by 0.05 of a second, but both of the top two finishers under 14:53.
That is now 2 Florida Gators in the top 3 indoor all-time, but Doris Lemngole. A preview of SECs, a preview of NCAAs, a preview of even Worlds potentially. We saw the world standard already hit today in the 3K indoors with Parker Wolf and Ethan Strand in reverse order. But the world-class times continue here at the Boston University track.
So coming into today, the number 3 time in collegiate history was 15:12. The top 4 all were well under 15:10.